Uh, you know, the thing that gets me the most about all this is that there's no more. Um, and it's not like popular enough to have more. Like with Undertale, you got a whole community of like 8,000 things going on, and here it's like, okay, but there's just one guy working on it, and he's done with this. What a strange feeling that is. Like, these are all feelings that some people have experience with, because they've all like had like a, okay, Harry Potter's over now, you can go home, and you're like, oh man, really? Now it's over? Why is it that this game does this to me? I really think that it's just the timing at which the game arrived into my life. That it's less the game itself, and I feel that's doing it a discredit because it does have like a lot going for it. At first, I think it's one of those situations where it like got its hook deep into me, and then I was like, oh, oh. Also, apparently in my original run, I made a lot of comments that I made later, so at least my opinion doesn't change too much. The Bombardier Beetle. So what? Like again, the problem I have with the scene is that it doesn't accumulate to anything. Like this scene is exclusively here's Azumi's like, but you don't give a shit. Azumi's not a main character who's like been developed and you care about. Why are you ending on this like super low key ending? Is such a big question. Like, for the character it makes sense, but like from a gameplay perspective, it's like okay, why would you end on this? It's like you're playing the Nintendo GameCubes and you're playing your Metroid Prime and you're like, oh, there's the Metroid Prime boss and you beat him and then you get this backstory on like a random other on like I don't know your ship's AI and you're like, okay, you know Metroid Fusion did this better. I don't know, it just feels kind of out of place. It just feels like like this should have been this should have been part of like the discussion like again same problem the discussion about Emily, no one cares. That's irrelevant. It's not a character you care about at that point. Like, so much of the true ending is bad or not good because it's on subjects that really don't matter, like emotionally, don't have any impact on the player. Because don't forget, like the flashbacks you have, like only one of them is that. Like the other flashback is Maverick and Zhong, and it's like these completely disparate elements. If more tied into it, then it would have been better, but not as much ties into it. It's all just offhanded comments instead of major like development points. Like yes, you could say, well, I guess it's a big point for big boy Remy, but when you really think about it, he just kind of exists. Yeah, I like that this is brought up, but again, like, why is this relevant at this point? Like, all you're doing at this point, all this is accumulating to is dehumanizing the characters we've met, which is like the worst thing you can do at the end is be like, okay, but fun fact, this is how they came to be, and it's like, really? Like, these people that I learned to humanize with, they have this weird origin? Like, what? If you start off with it, you can be like, oh, that's why. Instead of having this weird build up, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, the ending is disappointing because it feels like this ending would have worked a lot better if it came sooner. Because then you could be like, oh, that's why. Instead of being like, oh, okay. I mean, I was expecting like a satisfying finale, which you do get sort of that finale, but it's like really short ending part where it's like, oh, we're going to work together. I'm like, why don't you expand on that part? That part's interesting. There's so little going on here. I like this discussion. Like, this is a nice discussion. Don't get me wrong. This is a good writing, but the timing is all wrong. You know what? You need to have an Azumi chapter. Just have an Azumi chapter. Have a prelude to the true ending, and then the true ending is a better ending than it turned out to be. Like, why not have the ending where you save both worlds, and Azumi's like, hey, listen, let's have this chit-chat. And then Azumi just kind of takes out a gun and goes, you do know that you just caused a paradox, right? Can't have that happen. You're gonna have to find something else, and she just blows up humanity. Wouldn't that be like a much better ending? Much more satisfying? I don't know. Like, why? Like why everyone's just ignoring Izumi, who's making these fucking comments like she's some sort of mystery science studio person. You know, I kind of like the idea that they have these advanced devices that can sort of simulate DNA, which I guess you could make that, theoretically speaking. Hmm. I'm changing the text a bit, but it's don't worry, it's not like I'm actually changing anything. It's just like, hey, this works better. My God, I just noticed. Look at this. Look at how fast we're going. This is so weird. Bombardier beetle. Oh, great. The Bombardier Caver. Well, whatever. I'll do it. The funny thing is that a lot of these things that are mentioned are like, okay, those exist, but they aren't relevant because they're like external. I know that's like, okay, we need to explain why these weapons aren't like complete weapons by the time you meet them, but it's like, why not just have this discussion some other way? Like, why is this a direct recalling of everything? Ugh. Oh, that's neat. So unless you get to cure hormones. I mean, again, it's like, there's all these external factors that make dragons spookier. But none of them are there. Which is like, okay, that's interesting, but why not just fast forward the story a bit? Like, why is Izumi telling us all these details that really don't matter to us in any sense of the word? Like, if anything, there's one way you can justify this. In future Earth, after this has happened, someone finds this shit and starts making it. And dragons start, like, there's weaponized dragons. And they work great, and they do what they need to, and humanity's rebuilding. But a lot of people are asking ethical questions about this. And at the same time, it's like, hey, what are you going to do? Like, we're back with warfare, and these dragons are so much more effective. Because they're like, wouldn't that be a spooky question? Like, either you become a mindless robot, and you fight super good. Or you don't lose that freedom, but you're going to get fucking killed. Safeguards. Again, a word I don't use. Here's one thing that I want to point out, though, is for someone who's not a native English speaker, can I point out that like a lot of text actually works really well? Like, say what you want, but for a non-native English speaker, a lot of these lines work pretty gosh darn well. Like, sometimes I forget that Saunders isn't, like, he lives somewhere else. I forget where he lives. I think he lives in Austria or something. Point is, he's not a native speaker, but you couldn't tell. Like, a lot of the time, he writes these really good lines that work, and a lot of the writing just works. Just in spite of that, which is great. Do dragons have high infant mortality rates? Because that'd be interesting. Or did she remove that? Isn't it implied that Azumi, like, removed certain parts? Let's go check that out. Okay, so yes, it's implied that, I wonder where they got, like, this weird stuff. This is also weird. Like, why are some of these lines removed? Because they just feel like lines that really could just be there and wouldn't do any problems. Maybe because they're, like, too on the nose. I don't know. Well, we're not out of the woods quite yet. We might be next time, but... Oh boy, we are getting super close to this. And then it's just the secret ending and we're done. How much longer do we have? Okay, we got like 5 more videos to go. Yeah. Goddamn, man. Goddamn.